Didn't too much happen with Apple this week. I think everybody's still coming down off of the spring event high where they announced all the Mac Studio and then the Mac Studio Display and then the M1 Ultra and then all the new colored iPhones. But yesterday, iOS 15.4 dropped, and this is a pretty dope update because it does actually finally release a lot of the beta features that a lot of people have been talking about for the longest time. So I'm not going to list all of them. So I'm just going to, I listed like a couple bullet points that I wanted to share. And then I want to find out which one you, Nica, think, which one you're going to use the most, or which one you think is going to be most beneficial. So just real quick to run down this list. The first one is the ability to use Face ID with your mask. So for those of you who don't have an Apple Watch, you could use your Apple Watch as verification to unlock your phone if you had a mask on. iOS 15.4 re-scans your face and focuses on your eyes as verification. So when you have a mask on, Face ID will still work because it's focusing on your eyes. So you do have to rescan your face. And they also give you an option to scan your face with glasses. So I have glasses and I wear two different pair of glasses depending on what the situation is. So I was able to not only scan my face again so it could recognize my face when I have my mask on, it gave me the ability to scan my face with these glasses and scan my face with another pair of glasses that I wear. So if I've got a glasses on and my mask, Apple's doing double, triple duty to make sure it validates who I am before it unlocks. In addition
Yeah,
to
it was
that,
pretty.
go ahead.
Go.
Go ahead.
I was say it was pretty cool because when I did my face scan, I had my glasses on. I normally don't wear my glasses, and then after it did it with my glasses on, they said, take your glasses off and let's do another. And I was like, oh, okay, I see you.
Yep. In addition to that, one of the things that I ran into, I have an Apple Watch. So when I would go to unlock my phone and I had my mask on, it would validate through my watch. The only time it didn't do that is when I was doing Apple Pay. If I was paying for something at the checkout line with Apple Pay, it wouldn't unlock verify with my watch. I would actually have to enter the passcode to pay with Apple Pay. Well, with 15.4 and using Face ID with your mask, now it'll scan your face to actually do Apple Pay. So another one is iCloud keychain notes. So Apple's quote unquote password manager, it will save your username and password for websites. That was pretty much it. Now you can actually go in and put notes in that password and say, okay, this is my kid's PayPal account, or this is my mother's email account, because I have to save my mother's email username and password. So when
Same.
she forgets it, I got to send it to her. So now I can put actual notes, especially if you have multiple things. Like I've got 8 Google accounts. So the ability to be able to go in and add a note to say, okay, this is my brother tech, this is my personal, this is my family, this is our, SnobOS Gmail, that's a Google account. I can add a note using iCloud keychain notes to differentiate the different accounts. Another one is the AirTags anti-stalking message. They really didn't change anything, but they just, when you go to add an AirTag using the Find My app, it'll add a message that says, now, hey, don't be trying to use this to stalk nobody. This is not what it's for. They
This is not what it's
explicitly,
for.
right. They explicitly say that just to let you know that that's not what this is for. So I thought that was cool. That's kind of like a response from all the people who are using AirTags to stalk people. Apple's like their disclaimer: look, don't be trying to sue us. Don't come after us. We told you that's not what it's for, right?
Right.
Um, Another one is SharePlay. That's becoming more and more available on different devices, different apps. Like for instance, ESPN. If you want to watch March Madness, for example, is kicking off right now, and if you wanted to watch a basketball game with somebody using SharePlay, you can go into ESPN Plus. You're watching the show. You can click the SharePlay button. You can actually watch that live with somebody else. So that features become more widely useful, especially in third-party apps. Tap to pay on iPhone. So if you are a merchant and you have products that you sell regularly, like at a flea market or at an expo, you can actually use your phone as the POS to where somebody else, if they have like a credit card or they have an iPhone that they want to pay for something, you can hold your phone, they can tap their phone to yours, and you can pay for things that way. Universal control, if you have a Mac that has the right Mac OS Monterey, which is 12.3, and you put iOS 15.4 on your iPad, you can use universal control. So basically what you can do is you can put your Mac next to your iPad, and you can drag and drop pictures, you can drag and drop notes, you can actually use your mouse on the trackpad for your laptop and then move that over. You can touch things, you can interact with your iPad using the touchpad on your Mac, a whole bunch of other things. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last notable thing is iPad notes corner gestures. So basically similar to like the macOS Monterey feature, to where you can go down and use your mouse and the trackpad to highlight the lower right hand corner. You can put a quick note. You can do the same thing on iPad. So if you take your finger in the lower right hand corner and kind of swipe up towards the middle, it'll pull up a quick note to where you can do type a quick email address, phone number, whatever the case may be. So though there's a bunch of other features, and we'll put a link to the show notes. But out of all the ones that I quickly ran through, is there any that you're interested in? Any that you think most people will be interested in? What's your take?
I'm thinking the Face ID with mask, obviously, because we are
Mm-hmm.
still in a pandemic, even though people are trying to make you think we're not. We are still in one. The iCloud keychain notes definitely going to be helpful. And I think probably the universal control. I think those are probably my top three, you know, features that I will probably use the most and I think are the coolest. There's some back-end stuff. I think there's some security stuff that, isn't the flashy, nifty, neat, type of things. But there's some security stuff on the back end. So definitely do the update. But I think those three things are probably my top three of the features for 15.4.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I'll probably play the most with universal control because I have the what is it, 16-inch
Hmm.
MacBook. So I got the screen that big, so I wouldn't need a external monitor. But universal control on an iPad, before universal control, they had something called Sidecar, where you had to go into the Mac preferences and turn on Sidecar, and you could use it specifically as an external monitor. Well, universal control does something a little bit different, to where you may want to have two separate environments. So you want to have your iPad on an iPad app where you're doing something like watching a movie or checking email or whatever, and you want to use your Mac as its own Mac OS environment, but you can still move between the two seamlessly if you have a trackpad or you have a magic mouse, and you can click, like, for instance, say you wanted to pause the video that's playing on your iPad, but you're working on your Mac. You can quickly use your trackpad and swipe over and pause the video so you can answer the phone or whatever the case may be. So it just makes it that much easier, that more seamless, without having to actually go in and say, oh, do these setup things. So once you set it up, it's pretty seamless. Like I said, I played with it a little bit yesterday, and it's pretty dope. So I'll probably play with that the most. All right. Moving right along, the other story that we have in the lowdown, it looks like somebody was upset.
Somebody.
Somebody was upset that Apple is making all of their employees come back to work in the near future. So this, I'm speculating. I don't know, maybe, but I'm speculating and
That
saying
was my
that
thought.
somebody's upset. So Apple Park, which is the big headquarters in what's that, Cupertino, I think it is,
Cupertino.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got not a bomb threat, but employees. I think this was last week or earlier this week. Employees were partially evacuated after an envelope with a white powder substance was discovered. So somebody found something, ran up the red flags, called, the important, the paramedics, anybody important, and employees were partially evacuated. Employees were eventually allowed to go back inside, but it's unclear if, what, who, or where the substance may have been or where it came from. But again, Apple Park, they had a little scare. And again, like I mentioned, I think somebody was protesting the fact that Apple, like other companies, there are a lot of other companies are right about now that are kind of deciding, toying with, or actually putting in plans to have their employees come back to work. So I'm
The
just
the
taking what he's
announcement
saying.
was
Go
the
ahead.
announcement was just made, I think within the last week, that most
Hmm.
of the big tech companies are coming back. I think Google is coming back April 4th,
Hmm.
Twitter March 15th, Apple starting on March 11th. Again, this is kind of like your hybrid work thing, with you coming in 2 to 3 days a week, but it is a huge shift from completely remote. We've heard the president during the State of the Union talking about it's time to open it back up, when he worked downstairs from his house. But that's neither here nor there. But when I first read this article, that is really what kind of went into my mind. I was talking to one of my neighbors last week, and she was like, "Are you going back to work?" And I told her about our policy and how that works. And she was like, "Oh, we're having to go back." I was like, "When?" She was like, "The 29th." And I know some friends who work in the news industry, they started back last week. So, people are slowly starting to trickle in. And it's one of those things where they're like, what can I do? It's kind of like the whole, when you're in high school, people pull the fire alarm to get school out or whatever.
Get out a
So
couple hours early or something.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So, that was my first thought. I hope that's the case, because I would hate for it to be something actually serious and somebody doing a trial
Right.
run, or someone trying to test it out. I would rather it much be on the latter end of things, where people not wanting to go into work, when rather than someone actually trying to cause harm. So
Right. Absolutely. But if you weren't, I'm lucky to be 100% remote, regardless of what was going on before the pandemic. Um, it's going to, as nice as I'm sure it was for a lot of people over the past 2.5 years, to be have that freedom and that comfortability, even more than freedom, just comfortability to be able to log in when technology clearly can handle that. um, as nice as that was, I hope people didn't think that that was the way it was going to be immediately going forward. Now, I think that companies will eventually start to move towards that, but I think it's going to take a while. It's a culture shift. It's a complete culture shift, because the way companies have always been run since, corporations, started, is being come to work, right?
butts and seats.
Right. Butts and seats, productivity, collaboration, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think a pandemic that just in the middle just made everybody work from home, I don't think that was going to be enough. Now it's a start. I don't think it was going to be enough for companies to say, yeah, you know what? Everybody just stay at home.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think they're going to bring people back. And then as the trend and as the culture shifts towards more highly sought after candidates, include hybrid and or fully remote as a hard fast requirement before they'll take a position, or a lot of highly sought after, highly specialized, highly skilled employees start to leave corporate because they have more opportunities to go freelance, to contract, or to start their own business and
Or
have
just
be able to.
companies, or just companies who are open to the whole remote thing.
Right, right. The competition part,
Hmm.
they start to lose employees to companies that are starting out the gate more
Hmm.
hybrid or 100% remote. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It sucks that people now have to go back to work and then wait for that to happen.
Especially
But
when gas is $6, $7 a gallon.
exactly,
Ugh.
especially when gas is $6, $7 nowadays, this inflation that people are getting over on. But
Price
that's a whole other
gouging.
story. Right, right, right.
Right.
It's going to take a while because this is a complete culture shift. So hang in there. You may have to grin and bear it and go back to work and put on some real clothes. And but I think we're getting there. We're going there. I don't think we're. I don't think we're. I don't think people were gonna. I hope people didn't expect to be at home forever, sent from COVID until. I think they were just gonna bring people back.
I think people really did think that.
Hmm.
But like you mentioned, it is a culture shift. And for the last 2.5 years, most of the workforce has been working from home and the
Hmm.
world did not end.
No,
People
it
are
did not.
still hitting their deliverables. I think people are probably more productive. So I think, if anything, this is a lesson to corporations to say, hey, this can work.
Right.
We may not ever be 100% remote, but we can allow a hybrid environment going forward. And again, there are going to be some people who want to go back in the office and want to be there full time. There are going to be some people who is like, I don't ever want to go back. I want to stay at home. And so, kind of the sweet spot in the middle is this hybrid type of situation. So, if you want to be in the office 100% full time, come on back. It's probably more people than not because they've been home with their kids for 2.5 years. And it's like, let me get out of here. And there are going to be some people that want to come in for a little bit, but not all the time. So I
Hmm.
think it's going to be a nice mixture. So you can have people coming back into the office who want to be there, and you can still have, the spaces occupied and full. I just think we're still in the pandemic and people are trying to push us to believe that we're not.
Hmm.
So I think once we get a firm grasp on this whole COVID-19 and we start to see kind of where things land, I think ultimately this was an exercise. I hate to call it an exercise, but this was an exercise in showing corporations, yes, we can do remote and do it
Hmm.
well, and showing employees how it can be done. And honestly, if you're working for a company and they don't offer it, there are so many
You
other
have
options.
options.
You have options.
Hmm.
Whereas I don't think we had that before,
Nope.
not to this extent, where
Right.
you can use this as a leverage, as a tool to steal talent from other places or have other places you can go and still, make your salary, do the work you enjoy, and all of that kind of wrapped into one.